When you talk about bumping a player, it's pretty much
great courage. One that says the bump is dead. That's how you deliver it.
What is going on, YouTube universe? My name is Trent and welcome to the Hip and Shoulder, where we discuss everything Australian rules football. And today, ironically, given the fact that the club leader for my tipping competition has changed his name yet again, it is time to get our tips in, and that'll sound funnier and make a lot more sense when you see the competition rundown shortly. But before we get our tips locked in for round 12, let's take a moment to reflect on the tips that went down in round 11, and yet again, 7 out of 9 correct tips for myself. I've really started to turn a corner after a terrible start to the year. We tipped Sydney by 26, they got up by 14. We tipped Fremantle at home and we got the draw. I probably would have preferred if Jeremy Sharp had kicked that goal instead of the behind, because I think majority of the picks in the comp, at least in my tipping comp, would have gone Collingwood, so it would have helped me out a little bit more. But hey, beggars can't be choosers. Port Adelaide demoralised North. We took Carlton over the Gold Coast. We went Geelong over GWS at home and they fell short. I was almost convinced in that game that I actually did go GWS for a period of that game, and I was rudely mistaken. We tipped Essendon to beat Richmond in a very close contest. We tipped Brisbane to beat Hawthorn, even though I said Hawthorn would probably get the edge on Brisbane because we've seen it before, and it fucking happened again. And Melbourne and Adelaide did ourselves due diligence at the end of the round. I'm still currently alive in the minimum 5, which a lot of people are still are well and truly alive, and I still am alive in the gauntlet as well, which is fantastic. And I don't know how I'm still alive in the gauntlet, considering how terribly I've been tipping this year. Turning our attention to the tipping competition, though, there were 3 particular tipsters that tipped 8 out of 9, which was the most correct amount of tips this weekend in my competition. So congratulations must go to Dusty Fendoff 4, Majtig 77, and Lucas igod 44. Further congratulations must go to the 2 gentlemen sitting on top of the ladder so far, tied for first place. We have Dusty Fendoff 4 and my big force kin. Yeah, I'm not going to say that fucking altogether, but it makes a lot more sense, that joke in the beginning now, doesn't it? So congratulations to Brendan and Damien for yet again staying up atop and leading the competition from the get-go. Benny Craig sitting in 3rd, Dan Cash and Matt Lamb rounding out the top 5, with Freo 90, Team Wiggles, Gramercy Riff 78, and Nado and the blooper reel rounding out the top 10. The blooper reel making moves. Now, speaking of making moves, I'm now up to 21, and I'm only 4 tips out of the top 10. But now, it is time to get our tips locked in for round 12, remembering that this is the beginning of the mid-year bye round, so yet again, there are going to be teams missing each and every week. We're kicking it off later tonight, because this video is dropping a hell of a lot later than I would have liked to, and I do apologise for that. We have Port Adelaide hosting Carlton down at Adelaide Oval, and I'm going to be taking Port Adelaide by 14 points. I think they have the edge at home. This is going to be a very good contest, I feel. Ivan Soldo back in for Port Adelaide is big for them because they've now got their number 1 ruckman back in. I don't think Connor Rozee is playing again, though, so that is a big out for them and kind of gives opportunity for Sam Walsh, for Patrick Cripps, Chera, these type of players to really take advantage of a gaping hole like missing Rozee in that midfield. But I'm expecting Butters to stand up incredibly tall here. Houston being able to run off of halfback, I think, is going to be a very invaluable weapon for them tonight as well. And I think it's going to come down to the wire, but I think 14 points is enough. I think Charlie Dixon might towel up their defensive line a little bit. Friday night, Marvel Stadium, we have Collingwood taking on the Bulldogs, and I am very much inclined to be tipping the Bulldogs here. They have all the pieces in place to knock Collingwood off, especially with the injuries that Collingwood have recently sustained. I have heard that Brody Myercheck might be out of this game. We have no Mason Cox, so they're down to the 1 ruckman. They might have to play the young kid that they picked up in the mid-season draft only last night. They've got no Jordan De Goey, no Scott Pendlebury this week. They have a lot of top tier players out, a lot of players that would be in their starting 22, and ultimately the Bulldogs need to be able to capitalise on this if they're any chance of making finals this year. If Collingwood is going to be beatable, this is probably the period in time where they're going to be the most vulnerable. So the Bulldogs need to pounce, and I think the fact that it's being played at Marvel might very well be their opportunity to do so. MCG, Hawthorn, Adelaide. I don't know about this game. I'm going to go Hawthorn. I think Hawthorn just last week looked vastly impressive against Brisbane, and Adelaide knocking off West Coast in Adelaide by that big margin, 99 points. Impressive in its own right, but West Coast still a struggling, predicted to be bottom 4 team. So Hawthorn knocking off the team that came runner-up in the grand final last year, vastly more impressive given how Hawthorn have played in patches this year so far. So I think Hawthorn at home could get the job done against the Crows. Optus Stadium, West Coast, St Kilda. I'm going to back in West Coast. West Coast, to me, have redeveloped into flat track bullies again, in the way that when they play at Optus, they play out of their skin. On the road, they're going to struggle a bit. I think back at home against a St Kilda outfit that has struggled severely this year, West Coast are going to pick up another win. And it's crazy to think that this would be their 4th win for the season if they do win, and it would actually put them ahead of St Kilda on the ladder. This would actually drop St Kilda down. These two teams are, in my opinion, on different sides of the spectrum. We've got West Coast, who were predicted this year to be bottom 4. They were still going to struggle a bit, but they're going to improve. St Kilda obviously playing finals last year. We'd expect a lot more, but only 3 wins this year. That's a big drop-off from what I think a lot of people would have predicted at this point in time, and I think it's only going to get worse. Saturday night at GMHBA, Geelong taking on Richmond. I'm going to tip Richmond. This is very controversial, I know. Richmond defeated Geelong last year, and after seeing Richmond play against Essendon this week, they have a newfound, motivation and drive. We've got a couple of players maybe coming back into the mix this week as well. I really think Richmond can rock up to GMHBA and give it a real hot shake. I've got to start doing something a little bit different tipping-wise as well. I'm glad to back my boys in after an impressive showing last week where they probably could have and should have won that game against Essendon. But Geelong's drop-off, I don't think we can understate it. Last week, they played very, very patchy football, very unwatchable in parts as well. So I think if we're going to tip an upset at all, Geelong at home, losing to Richmond, lock it in. TIO Traeger Park, Melbourne taking on Fremantle. We all know Melbourne love playing out of TIO, and I think they're going to get a convincing win here against Fremantle. And the rounds out at People First Stadium with Gold Coast taking on Essendon. And I made this call last week, and I'm going to back it in. I said the Gold Coast would beat Essendon this week after seeing how Essendon played against Richmond. If they leave the door open like they did to Richmond against the Suns, game over. I think this is going to be an incredible battle of midfields, but I think Gold Coast midfield might come out on top. Essendon do have some injury worries. Defensively, they're both sound. Jordan Ridley coming back in is huge for Essendon. Can the likes of a Ridley continue to play that intercept kind of role with bigger marking bodies in a Gold Coast lineup? We'll see. But I think Gold Coast up at People First is a safe bet. So we're going to go with Port, Bulldogs, Hawthorn, West Coast, Richmond, Melbourne, and the Gold Coast. Let's see who we can take for the gauntlet. It's going to be very interesting here. I think this is where we lock up West Coast. I think we go West Coast against St Kilda, hope that they actually play out of their skin back at home, and we get West Coast taken off the board, because at the moment, I think that is probably our most viable selection. We still have some other teams well and truly alive for selection, and I think we can make those picks at a different time, because Essendon could upset the Gold Coast Suns here. This game could go either way. Geelong still very much will beat Richmond, but I don't want to lock in Richmond as a tip, and I don't want to lock in Geelong just in case Richmond rock up to play. Hawthorn over Adelaide could very well be your pick this week. This one could be a coin flip. This one could be a coin flip ultimately as well, so I think West Coast is the safer option. Now, speaking of options, it is time before we skip away and get ready to watch another weekend of football to look at the multis that have been generated for you guys this week. I do appreciate that you guys have been getting behind the multis that have been getting put out. Once again, I just want to thank my mate Damo for generating these for me each and every week. And it's good that you guys are resonating with this, and, you know, it gives us another avenue to kind of discuss football from a different lens, from a gambling, punting kind of scope, something that a lot of people have done with me in the comment section of my videos in the past before. So it's a welcome addition, I feel. Feel free to let me know how you feel about it. If you want to see it continue, if you don't think we should continue with it, let me know. But let me kind of preface all of this by saying chances are you're already losing. Make sure you set your gambling limits. Don't be an idiot when it comes to spending money on, you know, gambling, whether it's for the football or anything else. You know, I don't endorse gambling. I'm not enticing you to gamble, but this is just a little, as I said, a little fun way for us to interact with Australian rules football on a different level. We do have 3 different multis coming for you this weekend, all at different price points, one of which is an absolute banger. We are kicking off with the Geelong-Richmond game, a 6-leg same-game multi. We have Oliver Henry, Maikelti Lafau, and Brad Close to all kick a goal anytime, Tyson Stengel to kick 2 goals anytime, and Jeremy Cameron and Tom Hawkins to kick 3+ goals anytime, and that will return you $10. We then have a bigger hitter coming in with a 17-leg same-game multi for the Gold Coast Essendon game. Peter Wright, Jack Lukosius, Matt Guelphy, Jed Walter, and Ben Long to all kick a goal anytime. Ben King, Jake Stringer, Kyle Langford to all kick 2+ goals. Jack Lukosius, Ben Mackay, Kyle Langford to all have 10+ disposals. Zach Merritt, Nick Martin, Jordan Ridley, Tuke Miller, Sam Flanders to all have 25+ disposals. And Sam Durham to have 20+ disposals. And that is going to return you $151. Thought that was tasty? You ain't seen nothing yet, because this is the biggest hitting multi that Damo has generated for us all season. We have a 5-leg multi with 5 different same game multis all mixed together. As you can see on screen, we have a 4-leg same game multi for the Port Adelaide Carlton game with Sam Walsh, Zach Butters, Patrick Cripps to all have disposal outcomes, and Charlie Curnow to kick 2+ goals. We have a 4-leg same-game multi for the Collingwood Bulldogs game with Jamara Ugle-Hagan, Sam Darcy to have 2+ goals, with Nick Dacos and Adam Treloar to have their overs with disposals. A 4-leg same-game multi for the Hawthorn Adelaide game with James Warple, James Sicily, Jordan Dawson and Jake Saligo to all have their overs with disposals. 4-leg same-game multi for the West Coast St Kilda game with Waterman to kick 4+, Jack Sinclair, Nasiah, Wanganeen, Malira, and Liam Duggan to have overs with their disposals, and rounding it out with a 3-leg same-game multi for the Geelong-Richmond game, where we have Jeremy Cameron, Tom Hawkins, and Tyson Stengel to all have overs with their particular goal outcomes. This is going to return you almost $14,500. If this pops off, you're fucking welcome. That is it for this video. Do hope you guys enjoy what I'm doing here. Again, apologies for not getting the round recap podcast out this week. I've just had a lot going on. It's really run me down and I just have not had the time to do it, but we will be back in force with round recap podcast again next week. Again, more tipping videos will be coming, Supercoach back in the fray, and I have a very interesting video that I'm going to be working on over the weekend to drop next week that might be a bit of an eye-opener for some as well, so stay tuned for that. Do hit like on the video if you do want to continue supporting what I do here, and if you want to get involved with the community we are slowly but surely building, hit that subscribe button as well. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend, provided they're playing, because the Pies are back and I fucking hate it. I will catch you guys. I drew a mental blank. That's how out of it I am. I forgot that I was recording. I will catch you guys next time.